What's up, y'all? It's T-Turn. Today we're gonna be going through the rest of Riddler Ku's newest riddles. And last time we left off talking about Dokutaro and how it might be a Pokemon like this, where it opens up mid-battle and reveals a different appearance. We were poking fun at the idea that it could be like a rogue Tapu from Alola, and why that works is because it's a poison type. So imagine there's a fifth poison fairy type Tapu, and the sucker just left and showed that what it actually did is instead of protecting Alola, it went out searching for riches. And so it ended up in Kitakami hunting those Terra Jewels. You know, its name would be something like Tapu Doku. Maybe Tapu Taro. That sounds kinda ass. But if you ask what my answer is deep down, I don't think that's a likely possibility. Gosh, remember, Riddler Ku did imply that Dokutaro would get its own ability, a new one. Imagine Game Freak never says a word, but when it gets sent out, it has this terrain that summons poison. That makes it line up straight with the Tapus, but they just never say anything. Alright, that's enough about that. It's time to look at these riddles. Here's the first one. He tweets, Terastalized state or Terastal form. So this is different than it seems because you see terastalized state and it makes you think of just the state of being terastalized, like this Quaxley with the water crown. But that's not actually the case. What terastal state really is what we call that Ogerpon state, where its mass grows huge instead of it getting a normal crown. These are called the terastalized state. It almost sounds like who is saying that there are two separate things in this game. Terastalized state, which the Ogerpons get, and there's something else called Terastal form that we haven't seen yet. And then he adds to the tweet saying, what's the counterpart for these terms in Gen 8? Think twice before answering, which more or less implies that that thought is real. These are two separate things. Apparently there's something we can compare this to in Gen 8. The most obvious answer would be comparing it to Dynamax and then Gmax. So Terastal state would be like Dynamaxing and Terastal form would be like Gmaxing. But that doesn't exactly make sense. There's a third one to add to this, okay? Terastalizing, then Terastal state, then Terastal form. Terastalizing is like D-maxing, Dynamaxing. It's terastalized state that sounds more like G-maxing. You know, like a special visual change when you're doing the gimmick of the game. So what does that make Terastal form? Well, okay, no. There's actually one place where we have heard the term Terastal form. It's with Terapagos. This is normal Terapagos. This is Terastal form Terapagos. So it's not terastalized. It just has this form. You know, if it was freaking terastalized, it would have a crown and it would be sharp like gems. Oh, so that's what it is. Terastalized states are when you're temporarily changed directly because of the terastal phenomenon. So you're shining like gems. A terastal form would be like having a more solid form change. So for example, if Karana and Miraidon were to get terastalized states, it would be like Ogerpon where they get some physical changes, but they're mostly a gem that's shining. But if they were to get a terastal form, they would not be shining like a gem. They would just get physical changes. Maybe it's like a more solid and perfect transformation using terastal energy. There's no real term for this in Gen 8, unless only Terapagos gets terastal forms. Which in that sense, I guess terastalized state is G-maxes, and then terastal form is just one form that happens for Terapagos, so it's like the E-max. I guess that's the answer, Ku. By the way, in terms of these terastal states / forms, when we looked at the Teal mass code, we saw 3 Pokemon that would get them in the Indigo disc. Whether that's confirmed or not, we don't know. You know, things can always change before the game comes out. Here's the data mine here. They call it, though, 3 new battle states. So it sounds like they're using the same term as with Ogerpon, which is what appears to be one for Koraidon, then Miraidon, then Terapagos. Who knows what that means? Could they get actual terastal forms where it's more complete like Terapagos' terastal form? I would imagine for these 3 it's more like the battle state where they just get special crowns. Anyhow, this is the kicker because Ku adds a third tweet to these and says they can stack. Now I don't know what that means. That's like saying you can stack Eternamax on top of Gmax. Or the way it's made people think in the comments is like stacking Z moves with Mega Evolution, you know? Just using 2 gimmicks at once. But I think Ku might be sneaky with his words here. Maybe Terapagos is the only one that gets the terastal form. And he's just saying, in that special state, Terapagos can further terastalize. So it's not that they stack generally for any Pokemon. It's just for Terapagos. You know, so we would have, I think Ku's trolling us with this. So we would have Terapagos, then when you get its perfect terastal form, you get this. And then if you put that in a terastal state, you get the heat drawing. Maybe something like that. Anyhow, I was staring at these three for a long time trying to figure it out. Ku's just freaking trolling. But here's where Ku is not trolling. Here's the next tweet. He says, did you know one of the former mightiest Pokemon was supposed to get a terastalized state, but failed to debut because of some technical problems? How could you say this to me? Okay, so, you know, even in previous Pokemon games, you can find places, like in Sword and Shield, where it seems like more was supposed to happen in that part of the game, but it kind of is just smooth and simple. Stuff gets cut from games all the time. So we have this Terastal state in the Teal mask, and these three in the Indigo disc, allegedly. Apparently there was supposed to be a fifth one. One of the former mightiest Pokemon. Former mightiest Pokemon? What type of hint is that? It might work for like Zacian and Zamazenta. They had Arceus tier stats in Sword and Shield, and then they got nerfed in Scarlet and Violet. But that's stupid. They wouldn't freaking give them Terastal forms. They belong to Galar. The former mightiest Pokemon. It's also not Arceus. There's no answer to this, by the way. It's up for you to think. But I've gotten it. The former mightiest Pokemon is Mewtwo. That sounds like it. Mewtwo is a fan favorite. Game Freak makes hella money off Mewtwo. That's why they gave it 2 Mega Evolutions. And it's probably not Charizard, because Charizard is not necessarily the mightiest Pokemon. It's Mewtwo. Are you freaking kidding me, Game Freak? A Terastal special crowned Mewtwo? I mean, what would it just stay a psychic type? That kind of makes the crown redundant. If Mewtwo got a Terastal state, that would kind of be a 3rd Mega Evolution for it. An altered design of it. You know, Y, X, and then a Terastal state. Alright, y'all let me know in the comments, what do you think that former mightiest Pokemon could be? And if you think it's Mewtwo, do you think they had a different typing planned that wasn't psychic? If Mewtwo were to get a Terastal state, it would be locked into the same one again and again. I don't know, it could be like Ghost? Or what if it was like Steel, where it kind of became like Armored Mewtwo, but it was pure Steel? This is weird. Let's see what people in the comments think. Let me guess Charizard. That's the other one. I actually can't believe Charizard didn't get a Paradox or a Terastal form. I think Game Freak had to like bite their tongue. They wanted to so bad. Someone thinks Eternatus? You know, you have to ask, if a Pokemon gets a Terastal state, do they have to be connected to the phenomenon? I suppose they don't have to be. They could just have this odd compatibility with it, like Mewtwo, and he just gets a Terastal state. So I guess Eternatus could have worked. And that is the mightiest Pokemon right now, technically. Necrozma? Probably Rayquaza. Wow, Rayquaza was a big one, especially since it's a focus in the anime. That's a really believable one. That Rayquaza would have gotten this special crown and form. Maybe it'd be like a fire Terastal state. Watch it be Kyurem. Okay, this goes back to that video I made about Unova being mixed into Terastalizing. We'll touch on that later. See, like I said, there's no obvious answer to this. Ku's not gonna tell us, but we know it's freaking Mewtwo in our soul. It must be, unless you have a better idea. Let's go to the next one. So this one starts to put the focus on Terapagos. It's this picture, and it says, "Go burn everything." Now at first the picture might look odd, but you just have to look at that globe to realize this is Terapagos. Ku is giving a real chaotic connotation to this by putting "go burn everything," which makes it sound like if Terapagos ever gets put in this state, you know, he may be peaceful here and a lovable guy, but he goes crazy if you get him to this. Which is what it sounds like in Heat's vision anyway. You got like the tsunamis coming, but who's gonna cause it? Who's gonna piss Terapagos to that? Is there a shot it isn't Kieran? Someone asks, is this that world turtle people used to talk about? Ku says, the apocalypse. Again, he's saying, if it comes to this state, it's the apocalypse. So if you guys are wondering what this is, it's a Digimon. And if I understand this correctly, it's a Digimon that, you see those 7 circles? Those are the 7 sins. And there's like a Digimon to represent all 7 of them. And when they fuse together, it makes this Pokemon, which is like the Super Sin Man. So what's freaky about that is, you know, it looks like Terapagos, and it's even got the ball to look like the Terapagos drawing. But when you add the number 7 into it, it starts to confuse us. Because remember, Ku was counting up to 7 heads? And then further, he showed the girl that can control animals. and then put the picture of the 7 mochi, which are different colored, it almost sounds like that's now referencing this. So if you take a step back, now we don't know what this picture really is about when he says go burn everything. Is it super form Terapagos? Is it somehow going back to Diplin's evolution? Or is it Dokutaro related with controlling 7? Go burn everything can kind of work for all 3 of them. Anyhow, we've given ourselves a lot to think about, and now we're pretty much caught up with the riddles. So now there's just one left to show you. Here's the tweet. He has a picture of Terapagos, then 4 circles, which are normal, psychic, rock, and dragon. So Ku's asking us, what typing do we think Terapagos is gonna be? These are kind of like the big 4. Normal actually works very well, especially since we know there's that 19th type. Its base form being a normal type almost works as like a soft version of that. Something like a psychic or rock type works with its magical energy or the fact that it's made of crystals. And then dragon makes sense because it's kind of reptilian. Gosh, wouldn't that be weird if it was like a normal dragon type? A rock psychic type? This is weird to say, but I think it should be a normal type. I mean, we also just don't have normal type legendaries. Oh, but making it a rock type makes it kind of go hand in hand with Glamora, just because Glamora feeds off it. And then making it a psychic type almost makes it the superior to Glamora, the psychic type that beats it. I don't think I want it to be a dragon. So those are my 2 guesses. Either a pure normal type or a psychic rock type. But Ku then says, or other possibilities. So it's probably among these 4, but the doors are still open. Gosh, what if it was something weird like this was rock psychic, and then when it goes to its terastal form, it evens itself out, so it's pure normal. And then in its 3rd form, it's gone crazy, so it's the 19th Terra type. That kind of makes sense, but it's so weird if we made these 2 so different. I don't know, what do y'all think? Let me know in the comments what typing you think works for Terapagos and how you interpret that big 7 sins chaos demon. Make sure y'all shank that like button, and as always, I have so much more to talk about, so we'll do that next time. I'll see y'all there. Take care.